A Donald Trump victory in the U.S. election could create a pivoting world environment, most notably in the United States' relations with allied countries like NATO, and in policies affecting parts of the Middle East, Asia, and Latin America. Economic pressure on NATO. Trump once lambasted the organization, saying the countries the U.S. is protecting do not give enough to the cost of defense. He might now restart pressure for NATO members to increase their defense budgets, possibly encouraging European countries to take more concrete steps toward independent defense against the U.S. European nuclear armament. Trump once insinuated that the U.S. might withdraw its commitment to defend Europe if it does not give more financially. Should this come to fruition, several European countries may opt for independent systems of defense or nuclear capabilities. This might undermine the cooperation within NATO and dent the trust its members place in it. U.S.-EU relations. Trump has consistently harangued the European Union and has favored the concept of bilateral trade agreements over collective agreements. If he wins, US-EU relations could worsen, which may lead to the EU finally aligning more closely with other countries, especially China and Russia. Trade war. Trump might increase the tariffs on goods from China. This may escalate to a trade war which will hike the prices of commodities globally, hence affecting the global economy and forcing other nations to either be on the side of the US or China. He may also turn up the heat to protect intellectual property rights and limit risks from Chinese technology companies, especially Huawei and TikTok. Asian alliances in the South China Sea. Trump will continue to deploy more U.S. and military forces in Asian waters as a hedge against Chinese hegemony, particularly over disputed areas of the South China Sea. The stronger support for Taiwan and those Asian nations wary of China will likely further infuriate China, leading to political clashes. Global technology cooperation. Trump is firmly dedicated to restricting access to fundamental technology for China and diffusing the military technological risks from China. This could also lead to a closer technological cooperation between the U.S. and Western allies, which will see a new technology race driven by China and the West. More on Israel-Arab relations strengthening. Trump will likely revisit his priority of forging new agreements between Israel and Arab nations, something that is close to his heart. This could include cementing agreements like the Abraham Accords, encouraging other Arab countries to recognize Israel, and even creating a new regional political alignment. Pressure on Iran. Trump might seek to push harder on the ways Iran cannot develop its nuclear program through tighter economy and greater isolation. Results may be to drive Iran to further expansion of its regional activities, particularly in Yemen, Iraq, and Syria, and thus create heightened instability in the Middle East. Diplomacy and negotiations with Russia. Trump has viewed Russia in quite a different light, often taking the side of making amity with the country. If he wins, he is likely to diffuse tensions on Ukraine. However, if the situation in Ukraine continues, Trump may drive Russia to new measures or open discussions for concrete agreements, which also may push the U.S. further away from the European allies lined up behind Ukraine. Sanction relief. He can reduce some of the economic sanctions against Russia, thereby permitting Russia to consolidate its influence in Central Asia and Eastern Europe. Russian-Chinese cooperation may also increase if the U.S. follows policies of isolation from either country. Illegal immigration. He has taken a firm stand on the issue of illegal immigration from Latin America, more so from Mexico and other neighboring countries. He would have more rigid immigration policies and would make the Mexico border wall stronger. Beyond that, he could compel the regional countries to fight against human trafficking and the drug cartels, which again would affect labor mobility and social integration in the region. Trade cooperation. Trump prefers U.S.-only trade agreements rather than a broader regional agreement, which may reduce U.S. clout in Latin America, particularly if those countries establish a relationship with other powers such as China and Russia. Or put another way, a successful presidency by Trump may indeed entail an isolated US foreign policy that may bring to the fore new alliances among European, Middle Eastern, and Asian countries. His policies will press other nations to seek self-reliance and alternative alliances as part of a recalibrated US presence on the world stage.